I'm Ryan.
And together,
we are the Northwest Sports Fanatics.
We right back at y'all again with our weekly NBA Top 5 Power Rankings.
All right, man, let's start it off. We're getting pretty close to the end of the season.
Yes, we are, man.
We've got, 3-4 games left for most teams. You know, either you're in the playoffs or you're not, so you kind of know where you stand for the most part besides positioning.
It's time to go big or go home.
Right, and quick shout out to the Blazers and the Wizards. You know, congratulations. Yes. We're both in the playoffs this year. Now we just got to get on the grind and get past that first round.
You got to crawl before you can walk.
Absolutely. So let's hit it off, man. Number 5.
Cinco.
We're going to have to go to a team that has more wins, obviously, this year than maybe I originally thought. They've kind of had an up-and-down season with a few injuries, but have really been playing well as of late for the most part. We're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay.
All right, so we have them at 5. It might be a little low for some people, but they did go 3-2 last week. You know, so you had some losses there. You had victories against the Spurs, the Kings, and the Clippers. Respect. But you did lose to the Rockets and the Suns. Okay. And obviously, Suns are kind of getting hot right now. You play the Pelicans tomorrow. That's going to be a pretty good matchup, but I heard on the wire that Anthony Davis is out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they sat him down.
They're going to sit him down, so obviously you should be able to get a win there. You had a nice victory against the Clippers, 107-101 recently. What can you say? Russell Westbrook, KD, you're averaging 53 points per game. Just between those two players, pretty phenomenal. The streak ended of the 25 points, obviously, per game consecutively. You beat Michael Jordan with KD, but then you fell a little short of Oscar and obviously Will. But shout out to KD. From what I've been seeing right now, X factors to me, Serge Ibaka. We don't really know what we're going to get from him. As the
really inconsistent. Right?
You know what I mean? We don't really know what we're going to get from him. Obviously, Reggie Jackson, Caron Butler, they've been pretty solid. Those big three have been averaging about 38 a game. So that's pretty solid performances, obviously, by those three role players. One key stat I want to throw out there, Kevin Durant, a.k.a. the MVP, a.k.a. scoring champion, a.k.a. Durantula, 40% beyond the arc.
Wow.
40% for a big man that's pretty much 7 foot with that wingspan. 186 threes this year. Phenomenal. I mean, we're talking like Dirk-like numbers.
Score.
Unbelievable. And then on the defensive side, a real quick stat I want to throw out there, Durant and Westbrook have 181 steals combined this year. Right? Westbrook is almost at a 2, about 1.9, Durant about 1.3. And that's going to be a real key factor as we move forward going into this playoff stretch. So what have you seen from the Oklahoma City Thunder?
As you know, they say defense does win championships.
Right.
So their defense has been picking up. They got Thabo Sefolosha back.
Right.
And also Big Perkins.
He
doesn't score a lot or rebound a lot. He's just his toughness, just the idea that Perk is there makes him that much. It's a mental thing.
Throw some bows a little bit, right?
Yeah, with the OKC, as you know, it's all about Kevin Durant. As you mentioned, he did break Michael Jordan record for consecutive game scoring 25 points or more. But he still has a streak going that not too many know about. He has 51 games plus of scoring 20 points or more.
Unbelievable.
He's the best scorer right now in the game. What more can you ask for?
Right, and he's getting pretty close to Kobe. Kobe has obviously a few more than him, but obviously consistency. I mean, we're talking about an MVP, then there's not even a question. I mean, you can argue Blake Griffin had a good year. You can argue LeBron James had a pretty good year. You pretty much argue a lot of different players.
Joakim Noah. That's my guy.
Right, and a lot of triple doubles from him. But I think hands down, you got to go MVP with Kevin Durant this year.
That man his trophy, man.
Yeah, so shout out to the Thunder. I'm really excited to see what they do in this playoff stretch.
Yeah.
And see how far they can go and if they can get back to the Western Conference, obviously champions, without James Harden. Is it possible to get back there? And we're going to have to wait and see. So shout out to the Thunder. Number 4.
Quattro.
We're going to go to a team that we haven't talked about in weeks. And they've had some injuries.
MIA.
They haven't really been on the radar, but we're starting to get back on the radar with this team. We're talking about the hometown team, our Portland Trailblazers.
Rip City.
All right, Rip City, 51-28, 3-1 last week. We had victories against the Lakers, the Pelicans, and the Kings. Games you obviously should win. We lost to the Suns, but the Suns have been getting hot lately. They beat us, and then they beat the Thunder.
The Suns fighting for their life right now, and they beat OKC too. So that's nothing to frown.
Absolutely. And nice thing about the Portland Trailblazers right now, we're in Rip City. The Big Five, all in double-digit scoring. That's something I love to see. 83 points per game for our Big Five. I love it. LA leading the way. The L Train came back from our injury. We're about 6-7-1. With him back in the lineup. 23 points per game. Dame, obviously Damian Lillard, 21 points per game for our point guard, our leader. But to me right now, the MVP, hands down, if you are a true sport fan and you watch basketball and you watch the Blazers, Robin Lopez, right?
Show.
This guy is phenomenal. 10.9 points per game. He brings it on the rebounding side. He helps on the weak side defense. He gets us block shots. And anytime we're in trouble, if LA's not there, you can rely on Rolo to really bring it with that energy. So I love that from Rolo. Nice thing also, too, that people aren't really mentioning and they're sleeping on, the Blazers right now, their starting five are all shooting 81% or better from the stripe, from the line. And that's going to be real critical, especially if we play Houston in that first round. How many free throws can we make? And especially coming from Rolo, a big man that can shoot 81% or better. Shout out to you. You know what I mean? Not very many big men can shoot that free throw, as good as him. And a couple key stats I want to throw out there real quick. Lillard, 209 three-pointers this year. 209, and obviously KD, has a lot with 100 and so many, but 186. But obviously Lillard is in another category with the threes. Right? And to me, right now, the X factor, as we move forward and we're getting close to that playoff push, since we hit our 50 wins, we're in the playoffs. Mo Williams and T-Rob. Now, obviously, with T-Rob and Mo Williams, those are obviously our heart and soul off the bench. And obviously, depending on how good they do, is going to be determined on how far we go out of the first round, or if we're going to get bumped by James Harden and the Beard. What have you seen from the Portland Trailblazers?
The Blazers, man, they going to put up a nice little fight. I do like the squad. Only concern I have about the Blazers is the bench production.
Absolutely.
And it's a little too inconsistent, besides the Mo Williams and Thomas Robinson with his hustle. But other than that, who else is going to give them production?
Right.
With the Blazer, the key thing about the Blazers I noticed this year is that they can score.
They can score.
They're 6th in scoring, so that's awesome. But their defense,
horrible.
They're in the middle. They're in the middle. They're in the middle of the pack. It kind of all right, they're horrible at defense.
Yeah, we're not good.
They're ranked 18th in defense, but it seems like they should be much better. You got Wesley Matthews, known as a great defender. You got Nick Batum,
known as a defender,
right? And you got Rolo,
right? So is Aldridge and Lillard that bad at defense? I mean, I don't think they're bad at defense, but I think we're better at team defense, not individual defense. Because
it's not like either player is capable. Because look at Lillard; he's one of the most athletic point guards in the league. And then you go Aldridge; he runs the court like a deer.
Right.
So it's kind of a mental thing of just. My coach used to make us do them wall sits and make you sit down for 2 or 3 minutes.
Right. I think one thing is that they're really good in the first 14 seconds in the shot clock, but when it comes down to the last 10 seconds, when they get that last extra pass in there, they kind of get lazy. They don't get out and close out properly, and that's where we kind of get burned when we're not making our threes, and then the other team shoots threes in our eyes and get dunks and go to the free throw line. So hopefully we can improve on that. But shout out to the Blazers. We're in the playoffs. We hit 50 wins. We haven't done this, that often. We only have hit 50 wins 12, 13, 14 times in our history. So it's something real significant. But like you were saying before, we did start off 25-5, people. Yeah. All right. So when you're at 51-28, come on. I mean, we got to get a little bit more W's as we're going towards the end of the season.
That's good too, but that goes just to show you about the league, man, how good the league is. Once that tape is out there, everybody studies and they picks up on your game plan. And just got to make better adjustments, and players got to step up. I do think they have a chance to win the first round matchup, regardless of who they play. That's not OKC or Spurs.
Right, absolutely. And shout out to Terry Stotts. I think a lot of fans here in Portland weren't really believing in him, but obviously they are listening to him. They are believing. So obviously he's bought some time as the coach, at least for a couple more years. So shout out to Stotts.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to go to number 3.
Trace.
This is going to be a team that is a force to be reckoned with. And don't be surprised if they make a run and get deep in the playoffs. We're talking about H-Town, the Houston Rockets.
Okay.
Right? James Harden, Fear the Beard, 52-26. You went 3-1 last week. You have victories against the Thunder, very solid. The Nuggets and the Lakers, games you should win. You did lose to the Nuggets on the second trip around. Okay. So obviously, you should have got that win, but hey, you can't win them all.
Yeah.
You play the T-Wolves on Friday, another game that you should win because obviously Kevin Love and the transition.
They kind of packing it in.
They're kind of packing it in. And James Harden, to me right now, top 3 player in the NBA, hands down. Not even offensively. We're talking about overall. You got Durant at number 1 or number 2, and LBJ, King James at number 2. And I think James Harden. I don't think really there's anyone else in that same category. Phenomenal player, 25 points per game, really showing OKC that maybe they chose the wrong player to keep. But, obviously he wanted the money and he wanted to prove, that
That's an argument that could go on for days.
Right, but obviously if you could have a choice between a small forward and Durant or a point guard and Durant, you're going to go for the point guard, the distributor, and the guy that can score. So I think they did make the right move. Injury to Patrick Beverley. It was originally thought that he was going to be out for the season. Now they're kind of getting some, got reevaluated, and it looks like he might be able to make a little run in the playoffs. How effective will he be? I don't know, because he is kind of a hound on the defense, has something to prove, a little chip on his shoulder. To me right now, the X Factor is Terrence Jones. Okay. All right, the X Factor. Portland guy out here in the 503, right? 12 points per game. He raised his average. He's had a few games above 20, and he's been catching fire lately, really showing people that, even though Kentucky did lose, in the championship, that they do have great quality NBA, talent coming up on that next level. And, this is a team really to be watching out for closely as we move forward. What have you seen from the Houston Rockets?
With the Houston Rockets, of course, everything revolves around James Harden. And he's on a tear right now. His last 5 games, he's averaging over 31 points a game.
Right.
And he's doing this without no Dwight Howard. Now, for them to make any type of playoff run, they need Dwight Howard to be healthy.
Absolutely, because Ashik can't hold it on his own.
Yeah,
and he can't. And Harden has.
He's been holding it down the past 9 games.
Right.
They squeaked through with a couple of wins. He's averaging 6 points and 8 rebounds. He even had a game when he had 23 rebounds.
Oh wow, okay.
But he's not Dwight Howard.
That's true.
So. Her get back soon, Superman, and I can't wait for these playoffs in the Western Conference, man. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. And one little quick stat I want to throw out there: James Harden, aka Fear the Beard, has 106 steals this season. So not only can he do it on the offensive side of the game, one-on-one, but when he wants to lock someone down, he can really, lock someone down and really make it hard for them to do anything offensively. So shout out to James Harden. I think that's one area. It's like Michael Jordan. Early in his career, it was all about the dunks, the jump shots, the scoring. But then eventually he knew that he could turn into a good defensive player and ended up being first team all-defensive player multiple years in a row. And I think James Harden is kind of getting on that track where he can prove people that, he's no offensive player only. He has some D, and he's pretty damn good at it too.
Yeah, shout out to James Harden, man. It's a joy to watch someone's game when they first come in the league, and you watch him progress over the years and years, and then you see where he's at now.
Especially from a kid from Arizona State, where we never really thought he was going to pan out, and now he's pretty much a top 5 superstar in the whole entire NBA. So shout out to the Rockets. You're playing great, and that might be the team that the Blazers more than likely are going to face at the 4 or the 5 seed. So I'm really excited about that. Let's shift to number 2.
Dose.
Now, this is a team that we just started talking about recently, and we had them at number 5 last week, and we kind of debated on where we thought maybe we should put them in this ranking. But I think that they do deserve to be at number 2 for this week. Talking about our Chicago Bulls.
The Bulls.
All right, the Bulls. 46-32. You went 3-0 last week. You went 3-0 the week. 3-0 the week before. So you're 6-0 in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, victories against the Bucks. Your Wizards. Give you a little pat on the back for that one. That's okay. Right? And the T-Wolves. Right? But Joakim Noah. Right? This guy is definitely an MVP candidate. Right? He had a triple-double just a couple days ago. He's leading the league in triple-doubles with Lance Stevenson with 4.
From your center position.
From the center position. I mean, I know they say it's Derrick Rose's team.
It's a weapon like no other. Man.
But I'm thinking you got to kind of start thinking it's a Joakim Noah team. If you really think about the grittiness, he feeds off Thibodeau. It's exactly what Thibodeau relates to his players: the grittiness, the fire, the anger, the passion. And he's been playing great. And Carlos Boozer starting to step it up a little bit. Jimmy Butler, a nice little role player.
I like Jimmy Butler.
I love Jimmy Butler. Taj Gibson off the bench has been playing good. Dunleavy, like you said before, and Kirk Heinrich.
Yeah.
But to me, the X factor and the true surprise is the player that the Pacers dumped because they thought he couldn't do it. DJ Augustine.
Yes,
he's really found a home in Chicago. He's scoring more, 12.9 points per game off the bench. And he turned the ball over a lot, it seemed like, in Indiana. but he doesn't do it as much in Chicago. Maybe that's a little pressure on Joakim and the Chicago kind of nature of being gritty. Obviously, Chicago is known for that grittiness out there. It's definitely
Thibodeau rubbing off on
right. Absolutely. What have you seen from the Chicago Bulls?
The Chicago Bulls, of course, they got 6 straight wins.
Right.
Their defense, of course, when you think of Chicago,
right.
The defense. They're second in the NBA.
Right.
Surprising that they're not number 1, but they are second.
Okay.
At 97 points a game. They led by Joakim Noah, and if Joakim Noah doesn't end up, I say, third in MVP voting this year.
Yeah, it's rigged.
He got robbed. And if he doesn't make first team All NBA,
yeah,
you have to get that man his props for the unbelievable year he's having. Also, shout out to Coach Tibbs, man. He has to get some consideration for Coach of the Year.
Absolutely.
You lose your best player for the 3rd year in a row,
right?
And you still coming out with almost 50 wins, right. Possibly the number 3 seed in the East, and a team that nobody wants to play. And shout out to DJ Augustine, man. He was just thrown away by the Pacers.
Yep.
He signed on with the Raptors, and they cut him too.
Right.
And like you said, he's found a home in Chicago.
And I know as we go into the playoffs, and I know it's not something necessarily you want to hear, but I know the Wizards are kind of up and down. But think about this. If Chicago overachieves and they play the Wizards and the Pacers, it's not crazy to think that Chicago could be playing Miami Heat if Miami advances in the Eastern Conference Finals, unless Toronto or the Wizards or a couple other teams kind of make that extra push. But it wouldn't be that crazy to think if they can start clicking at the right time to get to that point. Now, can they beat Miami? No, but it could happen. They could get there.
That's a tough one, man. To me, the way not only the bottom of the East 1 through the 8th, the
right.
1 through 8. Any of these teams could get beat, man. If you look at the way all of them playing, even including Miami.
Right.
Look at Miami. You look at Indiana. Like there hasn't been one real clear cut favorite as far as they focus, they ready for the playoff run.
Right.
Everybody looks beatable, man. Especially with the Heat. No Dwayne Wade, he's injured, and
right.
how much can LeBron really do? To me, LeBron, you look fatigued, bro. You need to just sit it down for a game or two, man. Get you some rest. I know you're a wiry, fierce competitor, but the tape don't lie, man.
Right.
You need to sit it down for a game or two, man.
Absolutely. So shout out to the Bulls. Shout out to even the Wizards and the Raptors. You guys are playing great right now. Now, we are running out of time, so we're going to kind of cut this short. Number 1.
Drum roll.
Our number 1 team in the power rankings that have been the same team for ages, the San Antonio Spurs.
OGs.
Right, 60-18. You did go 1-2 last week, but you did rest a lot of players. You had victories against the Grizzlies by 10 points.
Big win, too.
Right. You lost to OKC and the Timberwolves. Tony Parker right now has back spasms. Ginobili has a left calf contusion. They're day-to-day. They'll be back. Big 3 is averaging 43 points per game. Kawhi Leonard, one of my favorite players and your favorite players, 12.6 points per game. Expect a huge playoff run from him. They play the Mavs tonight, the Suns tomorrow. Parker Ginobili, 65 games played so far, so he's resting them. Popovich is doing a good job. Duncan only has 72 games played so far this year. What have you seen from the Spurs?
With the Spurs, the key thing about the Spurs is that they're 0-4 this year against the Thunder.
Who would have thought that?
So maybe the Thunder is their kryptonite. Other than injuries, that's the only thing I can see stopping the Spurs from cutting down the nets at the end.
Right, and they are better than last year's team.
Yeah,
and, Popovich said himself, how do you create a dynasty? You get a number 1 draft pick every 10 years, and they end up panning out, a.k.a. David Robinson and a.k.a. Tim Duncan. Worked out pretty good for you in San Antonio, so shout out to you.
Yes, sir.
That's our top 5. Stay tuned. We're going to go over a bunch of different articles as we get closer to the draft. We'll have a draft preview. We're going to go over an MLB preview after we get about a month in.
And once the playoff matchups get final, we'll give you some preview of the playoff.
Absolutely,
matchups.
And shout out, man.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, share the page, like the page. Show the support. We actually appreciate everything that we're getting. Support wise from everybody, and
tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend.
Northwest Sports Fanatics. Let's go, Rip.